What is your thought of this entire corporate saga of be professional at work?
I don't know if it entirely exists.
What is AI? They'll say it's that Hrithik Roshan song. AI. So we were a different generation and a lot of Gen Zs make us feel like dinosaurs nowadays.
Talk about you, not me.
Oh please, I'm a hot dinosaur. Oh, don't. By the way, why are you wearing pink on my podcast, Feroza? You know I hate that color.
I love it.
Oh God. Okay, so I'm super excited to bring the next spicy episode of the Sassy Hour. Today's episode is of course going to be about leadership because we have a leadership coach with us, Feroza, who's been in business for the last 22 years. She has dealt with managers, first-time managers. She has dealt with students, athletes, founders, and of course the CXOs. I mean, you name it and she's been there and done all that. She's also a graduate from Xavier's College, a psychology graduate, and I think which is very important because she tries explaining to leaders that you may be brilliant, but you also have to be emotionally aware. The topic for today is professionalism in a workplace. Is it overrated? Do we still think emotional maturity works and does way above brilliance? So I leave the floor to Feroza to tell me that what is your thought of this entire corporate saga of be professional at work? So I would like you to kind of open that segment.
This word, professional, I don't know if it entirely exists in the corporate domain because I think professionalism itself is changing. Even the term, like what it is. Like you tell me, like who is a professional? Who comes to mind?
Oh, going back to my time and your time, which was similar when we started our careers, for us professionalism was don't be so emotional, be calm, be composed. Like you should know how to kind of answer your manager. So this entire thing of showing your emotions at work was called unprofessional. So I have that memory of my managers telling me whenever I was upset or crying, be a little professional. You cannot get upset over all this. So somewhere the EQ I felt, if you show a higher emotional quotient at work, people type you as unprofessional. I'm sure from then to now in the last 15-20 years, the narrative has changed. So and also professionalism in terms of, being dressed in a certain way.
So I was just going to come to that.
Like imagine being covered right till here and if you show a little skin and I'm like glad I am able to show my tattoos here. But I remember I have one here also. But I remember being told that I think one thing about professionalism is, Feroza, we started our job with a Tata company. Yes. And I remember that was the time when I had gone to West Side and purchased those formals.
Wow, that's
they had colorful formals that time, those check shirts.
Right.
So breaking the Tata norm of blue, grey and white. And I remember my GM HR that time telling me, you're supposed to dress formally at work. And in my head, I was like, Gandhi, these are formals. Like, these are West Side formals. Like, it was written West Side formal range. And that's when I realized that somebody who had a little color, who was a little colorful personality, like I remember calling out to one of my colleagues, Colin, watch this podcast and share it.
God, yes, Colin Mendes, yes. Hello.
And I remember calling Colin, Anthony or even Rustam and I was actually told, why don't you use the extension? And I'm like, the person is 2 chairs away, not in a different pin code. Like, why do I need to call somebody who's 2 chairs away? So, that entire thing of being professionalism is certain behaviors which your seniors would think is right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can correct me or you can add some this, but because in our times, that was the funda of being professional.
Yeah.
So, I remember that I was so disappointed when I was told that, oh, you're wearing, like, you can't wear such bright colors to work. Because if she told me to wear formals when I was wearing formals, and I'm like, this is formals. So, them monitoring how you look, how you talk, like a very corporate robot, like yes ma'am, yeah, blah blah blah. So that for me was the professional conditioning which was given to me in my first workplace, and I mean you were also there that time. But that, I mean, and you and me, we are Babaji, so we are naturally loud. So I was like, shh. I'm like, what is this, a morgue? Like, what is this? Shush, shush, shush. Like, stop shushing me.
Shushing.
So I'm like, I could really do a separate podcast on this only with us, going back to those times. So that was the professional kind of behaviors which we were told that these are the behaviors. If you have these, that means you're professional.
And maybe, just listening to you brings back brings back just what it would even mean at the workplace right now, right?
Yeah.
Like what I'm hearing from you is being professional, how you look. Is it being professional, how you're heard?
Yeah.
Like the vocab you use, or the sir culture. I think that was my, like when you were storytelling.
We'll come to that. We have a whole section on that.
My whole thing was, okay, call me by my second name, or okay, then, so it's like how you look, how are you heard, and then also how do you feel, right? You're not a different self at work and a different self at home.
Right.
You are that one little integrated whole, and I think that is where professionalism is going with its different jargons or different nomenclature. But in a nutshell, it's like, okay, how are you showing up at work? And does that overall, whether it is one-on-one, does it vibe with me? And then of course, does it vibe with the culture? Maybe that's what I'm hearing from you.
I think culture is something, we heard so much of it, and even right now tell people, when you tell a candidate in an interview you're not a culture fit, you damn it break it down. You can't just give a reason you're not a culture fit, and I'm sure you have a lot of these real experiences when, how do you determine what is the culture? Do you even know what the word culture is and what a culture fit is? So I think we are pretty much bang on in terms of a lot of outdated things which we dealt with and which we tolerated, which the Gen Zs are or the Gen Gs are. Sarah, this is for you. Gen Zs are tolerating. Anyways, so now I'm obviously going to take talk about some real situations here, and I want you to, there are two kinds of reflexes, and of course, I'm not telling you because you're the one who keeps talking out to leaders who have inflated egos in workplaces.
Oh my God.
One of it is, I want you to give an immediate rigid reflex, and second thing, I want you to give me a ranged reflex.
Means I'll respond to this.
Yeah, you respond to this.
Okay.
So the first rigid reflex is if I'm upset about a certain feedback in a meeting and I start crying. So what is the immediate rigid response which a leader or a manager would give, and what do you think it's better if he gives in terms of a range?
Oh my God, I think sometimes no response is also a response.
Wow, yes.
And at least in my recent experience of having worked with, and again, generational differences exist. They exist. We gotta be okay with that. So sometimes I feel, was a no response, like a frigid, straight face. Is that okay? Or is it like, okay, even you're mirroring, even you're getting emotional, you're reaching out for the tissue, okay, right? And I'm always thinking that even a frigid response, an absolute flat affect, are you just holding space so that the person is comfortable?
Yeah.
Or are you just really going to respond with, this is not the place?
Go to the washroom.
Like, you have a separate crying room. I mean, I don't know, right?
No, there are companies who have these breakout rooms. They say, please go to the breakout room and cry.
War room.
That people cry anyways in the war room.
Yeah, but that nomenclature exists. War rooms.
No, and what do you think should be a ranged reflex in a situation like this? Because today we are talking to a lot of these people who are Gen Zs, who have, everything for them is, is inappropriate. So what is the right response which a manager should give according to you, and how the Gen Z should take it? So like a Gen Z who suddenly breaks out crying, and what is the kind of response a manager should give if a Gen Z starts crying?
Again, I think this is so much in context. However, I think something that just opens up the conversation or just opens up the moment, and whether you are a Gen Z leader or you are Gen X or you are millennial, doesn't matter. I think it's okay sometimes to maybe the first few seconds or the first few minutes just acknowledging what's going on. That means really being like right there
in the moment,
just being present.
I've
also seen leaders who are emotionally agile also go like, how do you want me to help you, like do you want a glass of water, or tell me, like so almost throwing back the accountability to them that hey, I'm here, but what would you want to do, like water, like have a and that's it. And then sometimes just holding that space and go like, how do you think we should continue, are you all right to continue? Acknowledging someone, I think that's such a big miss these days. We are just non-stop, right? Acknowledging requires those 3 seconds more, those 4 seconds more. Sometimes I find myself with leaders really doing this brass tacks that, okay, how did you respond?
Right.
Or like, okay, what did you do? Did you like, I said nothing, Feroza. I'm like, I said, okay. I said, okay.
Silence is also a statement.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm like, what after that? That, right? That.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And I also feel there is no right way or wrong way to respond.
Absolutely.
But you learn in that moment, or you try that, okay, maybe with Nazneen I realized as my team member, she needed this. Or maybe Feroza as my team member, she was okay in 30 seconds. I just had to hold space for her. And that's why it's like a, lack of a cliched nomenclature. Yes, we have heard this. But that is why even emotional agility is like that real, like that muscle.
Right.
That unlock is only going to happen if you try it. If you continue with frigid, you stay in the fridge then. You just sit there. Then just sit there and chill for life.
Yeah,
but try something else,
Yeah.
So I think a Gen Z, a different generation team member just maybe would want you to acknowledge them first,
right.
hold space, and then let them decide. That
Sure.
okay?
Another common thing, again, where I need your feedback, same in terms of the rigid and the range response, is when a junior gives a suggestion. So
Give
we
me an
see,
example.
like for example, saying that, the junior says, excuse me, I don't think this is the right way we should go. Now, I would never say that as a junior in my meeting, but fine, we were a different generation, and a lot of Gen Zs make us feel like dinosaurs nowadays. But the
Talk
person,
about you, not me.
Oh please, I'm a hot dinosaur. Oh, don't, you just cut this. Okay.
No, this, please mention this.
Okay, so as Gen Z giving a suggestion, and I see a lot of managers saying thank you, but leave it to the seniors. I see a lot of managers cutting them off because they feel too junior hai to apni औकात mein रहे kinds. And I see a lot of Gen Zs also, because see, today LinkedIn is filled with all this. I think every third post on my feed is a Gen Z writing a mail and trying to create a national uproar. So how do you think in these situations, because this is something which I have also faced when I've tried suggesting something where I'm told that thank you but no thank you. So how do you think, and I feel it's really stupid, because I think a good idea doesn't come basis of seniority. It can come from anybody in the team, and this would then limit me from even saying things. So I realized that in certain companies where I worked, I would just switch off my brain and just be present in the meeting to show I'm there, because I knew that even if I would offer something better, I knew it's going to be cut down and I would be shunned in public, which is obviously not a great thing to happen. So how do you think, and I'm sure you've also seen and heard a lot of situations like this, so how do you deal and how have you dealt with such situations, especially when it comes to coaching certain leaders or managers?
I'm so glad you spoke about ideas having no hierarchy.
Yeah.
And literally sometimes that is a 90-minute discussion with senior leaders. Like literally sometimes that is the name of the topic.
A 90-minute discussion.
Hierarchy, like no hierarchy of ideas. That means, and that would mean no hierarchy of problem solving. That would mean no hierarchy of acha Nazneen, oh, Nazneen is from that department, Nazneen is always giving great solutions, that department is great. You saw the bias travel?
Yeah.
Right?
Wow. Yeah.
Right? So sometimes that is literally the fundamental truth you start with, that hello. Like you are here, I am here, we are here to maybe solve this, decide this. And the example that you use, that hey, I have an idea, that really sits under psychological safety cup big umbrella. Right? Can I suggest an idea? Can I give you feedback? Can I ask for feedback? Can I exactly say what's on my mind without worrying of getting reprimanded? Or will you hold that against me, right?
Can you give feedback without thinking about the consequences? I think that's...
Right?
Yes.
All of this falls under this thing that now we are hearing. And imagine Amy Edmondson has done research years ago. Brilliant. Definitely check out Amy's work. But it just got popular after COVID, right? Because we realized time is essence. We realized so much effort is required in the virtual world, hybrid world. So that means, and I would very fairly say that the onus of this also lies on both sides.
Right.
And hear me out, right? If you are this, whatever, different generation, Gen Z, different department, let's just for a moment say your thinking is different than the leadership in the room. You could be anybody. You could be Gen Z, you could, right? Could be a new team member. This is my third day and I'm in a town hall. Or this is my fourth day and
I want to kind of give a suggestion.
Right? So imagine if the accountability and not performative accountability, right? The actual accountability, if it lies both way, then I would recommend the following. One, you also ask a question with humility. Hey, can I suggest something based on what we just saw on the screen?
Very important, more than how you, also what you ask is how you ask. And I think this is something which the earlier you learn in your career, the better it is.
There you go, right?
Yeah.
Or it could be like, hi, I'm new, but I thought, I could recommend something. Like, I would say first seek permission.
Right.
Intellectual humility really doesn't matter. What is your age, which department, what's your job? And then if you're a leader, also in that room, just be open to receiving. Be open to, all right, maybe we may not discuss the whole idea right now, but tell me what you're thinking, right? Because, and I speak about this a lot, like when you shut down an idea, you are shutting down the person's thinking process. You are shutting down basically a lot of things. So don't get your ego and your arrogance in a twist to throw that around that, oh, leave it to us. You've just cut off psych safety, you've cut off access to you, you've basically cut off a lot of things for that person to never ask you a question.
Never ask you, and also if you're in a position of authority, that person will obviously not be comfortable speaking to you about anything. Because I think these so-called initial impressions, like today, I have so many not so good initial impressions of my managers in my first job, Feroza.
Oh dear, I might just know them. Hello.
Yeah, we are talking about those people. So those first call impressions are so strong that even if I see that person today on the road, I will just take a turn and I will go the other way. I would not even go and acknowledge vis-a-vis other managers who I would see from a distance, run, probably hug them and say, it's so lovely seeing you. Because I'm like, was there a need to treat me in this way in my first job? There was no need. Was there a need to shun me? If I asked something, if I gave an idea, oh, you're overstepping. How was I overstepping? That was not an idea for my personal business. That was an idea for the organization. So these are the people who those impressions are so strong, and I don't know, I'm still carrying them. Maybe you need a separate session with me on how to wipe out
let go,
past.
Naz. Let go.
Yeah. Sorry, not in this session. But yeah, I think what you said is right, because like I said, those are still 20 years down the line, 15 years down the line, those are still ingrained in my head, situation to situation, what the woman was wearing, her tone, her expression. But because there was, okay, it's a woman, we know that. But I'm saying this is the kind of thing which I think could have been avoided, and I think leaders who are looking to this, people who come fresh out in this, please treat them in a way where they look up to you, and they feel a part of the process. And that is one thing which I like about Gen Zs, out of the many things that I don't. That
Gen Zs, I love you, that's her.
I love you too, excuse me, hello, that's my brand. But the fact of the matter is that they are so vocal and to the point, and they state their discomfort right when giving feedback, and they are the ones who also interview you when you're interviewing them. They ask a lot of right questions. They're not like, okay, this needs to be done. They're like, break it down for me. What all do you need? So their priorities and everything, but obviously we'll come to my favorite segment. But yeah, I think the point you've made is so valid. The entire thing about psychological safety, how
it's a big thing.
Impressions, it's you. The impressions you are creating in that person, are you making him your lifelong admirer, or are you just making him, are you just getting one more hater to your list?
And maybe Naz here, like since I'm hearing you talk about admiration, I really feel it's high time, especially in the Indian subcontinent, bases our culture scape. Leaders don't have to be admired all the time to be respected, right? I'm always telling leadership that, do you want to be a popular leader or do you want to be an effective leader?
Absolutely.
And that's where you cannot be hungry for charm, hungry for admiration, hungry for people sucking up to you. You are never going to get the tough work done. Or leadership is not roses and rainbows, It's not. It's the dirty work. It's literally doing the boring work interestingly over and over and again. Because, again, just like a different take, right? whether I am Gen Z or not, and whether if I'm from a different generation or not, I don't need to look up to my leader.
Right.
I don't need to all the time admire that, oh my God, like, oh, you've done so. And that doesn't work, because it's, maybe you and I are coming from, I have so much experience. But that recent graduate, like, hey, but I have expertise. Do you know how to use this? Or
Yeah,
do you know
like,
how to
I
do
have this joke, like, that today like Gen Zs or whoever, and the AI. So I actually did this in one session. I said, I told him, I said, if I ask a boomer or a millennial what is AI, they'll say it's that Hrithik Roshan song, AI. Don't spill out my coffee, please. So
all right then.
Okay, so I'm like, appreciate their knowledge. Take, like, always see, learning can come from anywhere.
Anywhere, any
Again,
place.
learning doesn't need hierarchy, which you correctly said. Ideas don't have hierarchy. I think I love and learn from younger people so many times. In fact, they've taught me Gamma, they've taught me Meta AI, they've taught me, like, this is how you use this woman. And I love it. Like, they've taken away so much of my regular Gada Mazuri work, which we used to do.
Right.
So great. I think we'll come back to that. But right now, I want to really, since I'm in the mood and since I have you as a guest, I want to do a little roast of outdated professionalism.
Okay.
I think, so obviously,
what is expected?
What is expected? You obviously cutting it down and roasting and sharing some real experiences.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So this entire outdated etiquette rules, like we spoke about dress code, no visible tattoos, not speaking unless spoken to. Oh my God, this is my favorite. Just answer when you're asked. I badu sochege badu. Like, so I want to speak about that entire thing of these outdated rules.
Okay. I'll tell you one.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's
please.
meant, and I experienced it recently.
Oh, wow.
All right, recently.
In 2026.
Yes, yes. Right. Imagine it's like a. Like we've done a week long of conversations. It's a curated group, high potentials,
right?
And the audience and the group of these managers is Gen Z and high potential, and they are coming from the organizational's central team, right? So basically, they are like your creme de la creme. That's another word. That's what I'm talking about. So when I'm talking to, sometimes I'll hear folks like, I'll hear things like, oh, the targeted group for this intervention, Feroza, for this coaching journey is like a pedigreed lot. Or I'll hear things like, oh, they are a creme de la creme.
Oh my God.
Are they cheese? What are they, right? So this is, I feel like...
So basically they're souffle, not ice gola.
No, I'm thinking, imagine, right? Like, you're bucketing people or you're like, what, right? So that's one. Now imagine, right? We've had a great journey. It was like 1 week in person. My team and I are also there, and it's a group of I think 18 individuals. Again, all 20 something, right? Brilliant people in their job. The week has gone really well. Every day when we close the conversation, we seek immediate feedback, and then I'll be like, okay, that's something. When I'm sitting back in the room, I'm like, it's reflecting your leadership style. It's reflecting your own little microculture, what you have with your team. And is this okay? Because if this is okay, every leader is going to do it. They are going to. But how about we spend some time and first sometimes just clarify, right?
Setting clarity. In fact, I think that's on point, because the other day I was talking to a very senior member at WPP Media, and I asked him about this entire, thing about Gen Zs and stuff. And, he said a very valid thing. He's like, I realized the failure in our organization while taking Gen Zs on board is not setting or clarifying their expectations at the start. And I'm like, there you go. And I'm like, it's big of you to say it. He's like, I said it in my town hall. He's like, why are we ranting against them when we don't even? And he's like, that's one practice where I sat with my, CHRO, and I said, let's start doing this for them. And he's like, that made such a huge difference. We started attracting talent. We started getting good feedback. Our surveys actually kind of started showing improvement. He's like, by that just one change. So I'm like, I said, wow, that's something. It was huge of him to even admit that and say that. He's like, the problem is with us, Naz. He said the problem was with us, not with them.
Yeah. And then you have this collective shaming, right? Maybe you and I came from such cultures where, shh, it's okay. Let's not, oh my God.
I'll do this 50 times.
Yeah, let's not stir the pot. Or we maybe came from cultures where, okay, one person's not saying anything, maybe nobody will, and just shh, and just, right? But That's not the case anymore. And ideally, no workplace is going to thrive. I mean, your workplaces will survive.
Yeah.
But none of your workplaces are going to thrive if your criteria for quality is ego, or criteria for quality is age or experience, or no, really none of that.
It should be age, but it should be the energy age, not the biological age. That's the concept, you know. And I tell, you know, a lot of these leaders.
I love this, energy age.
Energy age. A lot of leaders, when I was hiring with my last organization, they're like, get us younger. Thoda kam umar. I said, you're being a professional pedophile. Stop it. I actually told one guy, I said, stop it.
Oh my God.
You cannot, I said, what is to do with younger? I said, see the person, like you can have a 45-year-old or a 50-year-old with that energy age and a 20-year-old who's so thakela that you have to drag them around.
Correct.
I said, and that's what even I wrote about it. I said, I would hire somebody for their energy age rather than their biological age.
Can I use this?
Okay, you give me credits.
I will. I love this. What is your energy age? Batao. I love it. I'm going to use
Great.
this.
So no, talking from this is again my next segment, and I think you will relate a lot of it. Authority without having a God complex.
What is that?
What is that? That, you know, that people come with that certain ego-driven power, you know, and authority. Like for example, a boss who never admits their mistakes. I know you're saying, what is that? A manager, if you give a suggestion to a manager, the person tells you that, listen, I've been doing this for 30 years. Like, I remember when I was not well in one organization and I took a sick leave. My HOD comes and says, you know, in the last 35 years, I have not taken a sick leave. And I was like, sir, that's untreated pneumonia. Then check up karao.
Maybe there's another problem that you're not addressing.
Like you have some major mental PMS or something, go get it treated. But this is where I feel they come with that authority and God complex. So can you just help break this down?
I'll give you an example.
Yeah, give me an example.
Okay.
Yes.
So couple of this was last year.
Yeah.
Like a couple of months ago, I was individually coaching, and I am in the industry what you call like a succession planning coach.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm known for in the industry.
Right.
A senior manager getting ready to take on a leader of leader role.
Yeah.
Or you have a global mobility assignment now. Suddenly overnight, you were leading a team of 10. Now you're leading a team of 30, right? Or it's like CMO is getting ready to take on CEO position, stuff like. Imagine it's a succession planning coaching assignment that's nicely designed for like 8 to 10 months. And usually in these kind of assignments where this person is getting ready, and of course since you're from recruitment, you will know, instead of hiring someone, how about we groom someone internally, right?
Absolutely.
There is legacy, there is so much business intelligence, continuity, and there is that sense of loyalty of wow, you are, you're investing, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I come in. That's the main line of business. And I have this bright, beautiful mind researcher. She's been in this industry business. She's had a background in research, data, and she's getting groomed to lead the whole department.
Yeah.
And in that journey, she was given a stretch assignment to take up the entire marketing competition landscape analysis.
Okay.
And her leader told her that, okay, for this project, the end outcome and end goal is you will be presenting to our organization's toughest stakeholder, Miss XYZ. And she's like, oh my God. So for a moment, let's call that XYZ Naz.
Wow.
Okay? Right? Let's
just getting back to me.
Yeah. Now imagine, right? Now let me picture that Naz to you. That Naz has been in the organization for 11 years.
Okay.
Has grown. Everybody.
Jai Mata Di.
Correct. Everybody respects her. Nobody decides to, everybody's towing the line. She has an impression of being a cutthroat feedback giver. Like,
okay, that's me.
right? And
cutthroat feedback only, not the rest.
Yeah, like cutthroat feedback. And what we have heard, and like I said, as a succession planning coach, when I'm coaching that leader to be ready, I also coach their environment.
Absolutely.
Who is the stakeholder? Let's coach some of your team members. Let's see, right? Because You are not growing in isolation on an island.
Right.
Your success measures and your growth factors will be decided
by them, yeah.
So now imagine, she comes into the coaching session and Feroza, I can't do this. Like, I know you and we are in this line, like, you know, and we've come to our last leg. Like, imagine now this whole she's getting ready to present to Miss Naz. And she's like, I can't do this. And she's getting cold feet. She's, you know, genuinely getting anxiety. I'm like, you know what? Tell me, what are you worried about? She's like, I've just heard from people that she's such a taskmaster and she's such a horrid feedback giver, and you know, she's just totally going to cut my analysis, she's going to chop. And this one is hypervent, and of course I'm holding space, So I'm like, what can we do differently? Like, can we think of? And she's like, I don't know, I've been hearing so much, and the presentation is like a week away, and I know you and I have gone through the deck. Everything is ready. Everything is. I was like, okay. What else? What? While she is venting, she ends up saying that I just so wish I could have her appreciate the work. I could just so wish I would, you know, like I can see her repeating this, like
you can have that visual in your head of what she's envisaging.
And then after she's like really spoken, I've held space, and then I'm like, so I said, okay, so how about, I said, maybe do you want to try a different agenda item? I know your agenda is ready, you will open with this. She's like, yeah, anything. I said, I am hearing you say that maybe you want her to also appreciate. Yeah, Feroza, she never does that. She never does that. Haven't you heard it from X? Haven't you heard it from? She's just bam. I'm like, how about, let's try this. I said, are you open to trying like anything? And you know, and by that time I can see that like, you know, she's fragile, but she's fierce. Like, she's like, I'm like, how about after your first 5 minutes of setting the agenda, showing your recommendation, like she just had like a 20-minute spot with her. So after you open your recommendation, blah, blah. And before, I said, how about you go like, so before we get into critiquing it, can we go across the room and have you appreciate one thing of what you saw before we start critiquing. First she's like, nahin Feroza, ye nahi hoga mere se, Feroza, ye nahi. I'm like, okay, so you just said you might want to be open to it. So do you think we can try and let's just see, right? Let's just see. Come D-Day. Of course, I'm not there, right? In the present. And she tells me all of this, of course, later. She's like, the room was set, everyone was set. We had a committee of like 8 people, including her, and me and my team, just 2 of us. I did exactly what you said. Just like, okay, we are from this team. I've spent the last blah, blah, blah. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And here are my 3 recommendations and blah, blah, blah. And before we go around the room, Ma'am Naz, Miss Naz, before we hear your feedback, can we go around the room and hear one comment on appreciation or one thing that you liked about our approach and our analysis so far? And then she's like, there's this stunned silence in the room. Literally someone is fiddling with a pencil. She's telling me these things, fiddling. Everyone is looking at Miss Naz. That now what is Miss Naz gonna say? She's gonna blast. And she's like, even I'm looking at her. And I can slightly see that twinge in her eye. And she's like, you know what, Feroza, I don't know what got into me. I don't know, I don't know what, I didn't budge. I held space for those 30 seconds and I'm like, yeah, just one thing.
Just one thing.
Just one. It's just like, I actually saw Naz look at me and go like, I like how you structured your reasoning. Can we move to the next? And she like gave me that. And she's like, that's all I wanted. And she's like, that's it. Remaining 10 minutes went smoothly. She actually, after the presentation, you know, Miss Naz, that leader, was going through a lot of meetings after that. But she just came out and she just came and she's like, good job.
Wow.
And she's like, Feroza, I've never got this. I believe that courage is 15 seconds. I believe that if you believe, you can transfer that.
Yeah.
Or you can hold your space. She wasn't rude.
Absolutely.
She wasn't unstructured. She's not doing something off culture or oh my god, right? She's doing like the most basic humanistic thing of just ask or just try or just change the structure that before you go bum 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 bum. And who's going to say no if you just ask that, hey, you know what, can you just one thing, right? And it worked for her. It totally worked.
So I remember getting that appreciation from a so-called tyrant with a god complex. Obviously, I didn't follow this, but I was just, it was very unexpected. So I think because my body language is my face says what I'm thinking, you know. So I can't kind of put up this. So I'm like, if you're an ass, you're an ass. It's shown there, you are an ass, you know. So my face and everything is pointing at that. So I think she came after a while and saying that you do a good job always, remember that, but you don't have to hear it always.
And can I add to that?
Please.
Like, can I give you maybe
Please.
like just another way of looking at it from a Gen Z lens? Right? The word you used, God complex, right? And it's almost like, oh my God, you cannot ask anything of God. Right? Like, right?
Yes.
When we also grow up,
where I said,
right? It's God.
It's God.
Right? Now, and whether you are religious, atheist, agnostic,
whatever,
like, oh my God, that's that God complex.
Absolutely.
Now imagine, and again, this takes time, this takes effort. You could end up, brushing people the wrong way. Could happen. However, I have seen some of the best young leaders, whether in our country, right? Sometimes I do get the opportunity to work with a lot of IAS officers, people from the administrative services, or even institutions, right? Even that. And look at corporate India right now. I mean, you and I shouldn't be surprised if a 9-year-old is building an app and a 16-year-old is starting a company.
We are reading about it, 16-year-old and this and that, and I'm like, hello.
Right? Now bring in this God concept. Or bring in this nonsense of, okay, here is somebody who has worked with us, legacy mindset thinking, and this person is always going to give like this kind of shutdown feedback. Or, oh my God, no, not to ask also. Right? Versus, how about finding that moment or in a meeting or just asking?
Right.
Just literally, and that's where this whole God complex that, oh, you cannot ask God. No, what? That's nonsense. If you're sitting across the table with that leader, you already know they have this slight thick skin, nobody. You just need to be perseverant and kind. That sir, whether it's a sir culture or if it's not a sir culture, I want to ask you this. या आपका क्या ख्याल है इसके बारे में मुझे बताइए and not budging from that, not literally not कि maybe this idea would work in organizations where managers themselves are performative and if they don't believe that you can make a change, then this is not going ahead, like it's totally not. So sometimes when people call us in to coach or call us in for group coaching, the problem isn't the team member. It's the manager.
It's the manager.
Or it's literally how things have been allowed and what is allowed is culture.
Absolutely. What is allowed is what will continue. Absolutely.
And it becomes culture.
And then it becomes culture.
Nobody says anything, allowed. Have to do these nonsensical engagement activities without meaning. कुछ नहीं बोल रहा है, अरे चल रहा है यार, it's happening.
चलने दो यार.
Allowed culture. Anything that's allowed, bad behavior, good behavior,
is culture.
It's culture. So literally changing that is one conversation at a time. Because Naz, I personally believe in this, that answers divide us. Meaningful questions unite us.
Beautiful,
And that is where this generation comes in with, okay, don't push or don't nudge. Maybe just ask.
Wow. I know.
And you've been philosophical for sassy.
Yeah, too philosophical, sassy. And also after wearing pink, you're becoming too philosophical. Like, sorry, but I've never seen her wear
We
pink.
have worked together at Okay.
And we also worked in one place at
Yeah,
different times
just
which
stop.
somebody has a god complex. So we
Just
know
stop.
these characters with
No,
god
I don't know what
complex.
she's talking about. I really don't know.
She didn't warn me though. She was supposed to warn me not to join that place. And she's like, yeah, go Chakdol, go.
All right, edit.
Edit. No, don't edit this. Great. Now, I think we've spoken enough and more about Gen Zs.
Okay.
I think not only the age factor, but let's also speak about the gender factor.
Okay.
Especially about women.
All right. Where are you coming from
Whenever-
with this? Like,
No, I'm coming from with this because obviously, like I said, being told enough and more in my career journey, hearing it enough from a lot of colleagues and a lot of, women in the organizations I've worked for and women who display emotion at work. We get an eye roll. Oh my God, you're hormonal. Is she PMSing? Has she hit menopause early? Like a man who is emotional, passion hai. But a woman who is emotional, okay, or a woman who is aggressive, oh, she's aggressive. Like, औरत होने के लिए इतना. So what do you think? And I remember, Feroza, whenever we've had we've had conversations, we've been doing it for the last 15-20 years, but whenever we've spoken, I remember distinctively you telling me about coaching women leaders and how they've opened up about showing emotion at work and really being kind of shunned down or reprimanded for it. I'd really like you to throw light on that.
yeah. Even before I started this entrepreneurship journey, 2020 had so many things in store for me, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't know that, right? You sometimes don't know
Absolutely.
till you sassy,
You
right?
never know till you know.
Till you know.
Yeah.
And 2020 saw literally me starting these little, women-led support groups, starting 3, 4, dheere dheere, slowly conversation getting out there, and that's where I realized why is there a need for women to come together? I would really, I'm again, in all transparency, I would be against this.
Right.
I would really be against that. No, none of this nonsense of
Tell me
why are
about
we
it.
doing this?
Absolutely.
Women leadership program, women this, kya hai, right?
Kyun hai? Like, why are we kind of putting this as a very gender kind of a thing to it? Yeah.
However, when I held those spaces, when I moderated those spaces, I just realized that, our problems are a little different.
Yeah.
They are, and practically, we are being blamed for the problem. Change of the problem is also expected from us, and labels are also for us.
Yeah.
So, I come from a slightly different perspective here, that when I'm actually talking to a group of leaders, and again, this is real, we don't have that much women representation right at the top in certain industries where we don't. Whereas in certain industries, like I did work with a client from a alcobev industry where the entire leadership was women and one man.
Wow.
So there are these,
one-off cases.
One-off.
Yeah.
However, even when I'm addressing a group where, let's say, there is very little gender diversity, I'm coming from the place of this whole identity range for a leader.
Right.
And this psychological range for the leader. Why are men always assumed to be tough? Why can't you be tough and kind?
Societal conditioning,
Right? Or why is it assumed, okay, you are a scientist at BARC, or you have done that, been there, now you have started your own little publication and now you're running. Why are you all, your identity is supposed to be assumed that you're a stickler and you're a nerd. You could be nerdy and goofy.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the message I want to get out there. It's not gender. We are fixated with that.
Absolutely,
We are conditioned with that. But a woman leader or whatever, she can be aggressive and sweet.
Yeah.
Be okay with it. Or like, what is my capability to showcase my emotions got to do with my gender at work?
Absolutely.
Okay, for a moment, put gender aside. All right, just put gender aside. But how is this emotional range related to my competence at work? And why is it fixated as a separate, okay, like this, oh no, she shouldn't, she's been PMS. you know what, even men PMS. I
Absolutely,
mean, they have their
yeah,
version.
like, get your facts right, go read up. Right.
Really,
Yeah.
we have different spaces of how that comes out.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's why maybe my take on this, and whether I'm in coaching or whether I'm in conversation, I'm like, I'm not going to do separate. Like I remember, we are not working with that client anymore, and maybe they will see me, and that's okay. But a year and a half ago, this is like a big retail giant in our country. I know the HR head and the L&D head from previous relationships, and they really want to change this actual aspect. Here I am in a call with their who's who, they almost like the EX team, right? And it's like a discovery call. And I'm like, okay, what do we want to achieve? Like, what's the outcome of this group coaching or this entire, we're going to put an investment, blah, blah, blah. Our women leaders need to be taught different techniques, Feroza.
Wow.
Like, like I think they need to be managed differently. What do you think in your experience? I just literally like paused in silence for like really 10 seconds. I was like, Mr. So-and-so, have you read about my experience? No, of course I know why you are here, because, but what we really want to know from you is, like, when we put our women leaders in this group coaching with you, and we'll get all of this, but they need to be managed differently. So I would suggest you coach them, and then you coach their leaders also, so that they can be managed differently. And I so vividly remember that Zoom call or MS call, my team's there. I'm like, maybe you are looking at the wrong performance coach. I'm not going to be teaching your men leaders how to handle your women leaders. First of all, I mean, I don't do that. And I don't think something like that exists. You want inclusive leadership? Maybe let's talk about that.
Yes.
You want something that's going to work? Maybe let's set it as a culture norm. Let's first work on that. Of course, no prizes for guessing that this didn't go through. This didn't. And it didn't sit with me. So maybe now, after 6 years of business also, we have reached that place where I want to do work that matters, that is inclusive, and that is not hinging on these nonsensical gender norms, because anybody can come around and go like, okay, now you have done this for women, what about the men? I agree, right?
Absolutely. So let's come to the last segment of this, and I think we should wind this up by, probably picking up those saying, you say one rule, I say one rule, which should be completely deleted from corporates. Deleted, not even this, totally deleted.
God.
Or,
okay,
totally
wait, you have to
deleted.
give me thinking time for this. One rule that will be totally deleted.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think one rule would be always be available. I am in the washroom, Haji, I am messaging, always be available.
Can I give a counterpoint? Not counterpoint. Like, always being available does not mean I'm always accountable. Like, ye thoda...
Or always committed. Committed has nothing to do with always being available. I think, can we please take this rule out?
Completely.
Yeah.
Like, really. I also feel, sometimes things that I hear, like, just keep me in the loop.
Ah.
Or just CC me. And I actually call it Khelo India Khelo. Like CC BCC, like these emails.
Oh God.
That is going. I just feel, like build trust.
Build trust.
Like
Absolutely.
just nonsense of keep me in the loop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then?
Please don't get emotional. Please don't cry at work. It's not done. I think this is something generations have heard it. I've heard from today's 20-year-olds. I've heard from when I was 20 and you were 20. You cannot cry at work. Like, stop crying at work. I think, please kapi nakho. I mean,
let's just
get it. Kapi nakho
out.
means cut it off. Just get it out.
Yeah, okay, maybe I was in an open forum having a conversation. I was on a panel, AMA, and he actually spoke about it. And he's like, you know what, crying does any... And he spoke to the audience. He's like, the crying breath. Right? That's how we cry, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, that's the most powerful breath. That's also what Andrew Huberman talks about. 2 inhales, 1 exhale.
Wow.
Like, that's the crying breath. That's how you cry.
Right.
So you actually regulate when you cry.
Wow.
So why can't we cry? And he left it to that. And I was like,
wow. I haven't heard this before. I think you haven't given these insights to me ever, but I guess that's bad.
can I give maybe one rule I want?
Yes.
People stop saying think out of the box.
Yeah.
Like enough, because then you're implying there is going to be a box, or like just this adage, think out of the box. Like just get up, right?
Good, I think that's great, and I think with that, let's conclude. Let's raise to toast. Where is my mug, Feroza?
Mine is right there.
Okay. But anyways, let's
first do a fist bump.
Yeah, let's do a fist bump. And I think let's raise a toast to kind of demolishing all the God complex people and having people at work, especially leaders, being more emotionally aware and mature, and let's just kind of cut all the professionalism facade, and I think this is what is professionalism in a true sense. And today has been really insightful, I mean, wow, what a journey. You took me back, and I'm sure you also went back in time with me. And
we don't have photographs. I wish we had photographs.
Yeah, we should have had photographs, but this is so important, and I think everybody who's seeing this podcast, I'm going to put it out on Instagram, LinkedIn, probably everywhere. I think this is something which cuts through across generations.
Yep.
Be brilliant, but also be emotionally aware. Regulate your responses, because you know what? You've been at that time in your career. You've been there.
Why is there all the time we have to be physically fit?
Yeah.
Why can't you be emotionally fit?
Here's to being emotionally fit. Woo! Thank you so much, Feroza.
Thank you,
and I love you like always.
Sassy, watch out for Sassy.